Hey, today we are going to talk about how to solve equations when we have variables on both sides. We are going to be on page 15 of our notes. So make sure you have your binder and your notes out with you. And let's go ahead and go there. Okay. So today we're just going to take it very easy with these examples. You'll see that there is no distributing. So there's no parentheses. On either side of the equal sign, there's no like terms. So basically we're just talking about how can we get rid of a variable that's on both sides, because that is not, that's not normal. So we're not going to do the bar model. People didn't really care for that, and that's totally fine. So we are going to talk about how to solve this algebraically. Okay. So we have 8x minus 7, and that has to equal 4x plus 21. So we're trying to figure out what this variable or what this number has to be. Okay, but the issue right now is our variables are on either side. So we couldn't put this together to make 12x because we have 4x's on one side and we have 8x's on another. So what we'll have to do is we'll basically have to make this zero out. So what's the opposite of a positive 4x? Negative 4x. Okay. And whatever I write over here, I'm going to write over here as well. Okay. And I'm going to be very intentional. I'm going to put it on top of the x's. So now we're going to see what disappears. So we have 4x's, but we took away 4x's, so that would make 0x's. We just made them go away. And then we're just left with 21. Okay. And then over here we had 8x's, but we just took away 4 of them. So 8x minus 4x is 4x. Okay. And then we're just going to drop down the minus 7. Okay. Hi, kitty. All right, from here we just have a two-step equation. So we're going to do the inverse of negative 7, which is positive 7. Okay. A negative and a positive make a 0. So now we're just left with 4x equaling 28. And then we're going to get rid of the 4x's and make it 1x by dividing by what we see. Okay. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And x, the 1x, would equal 28 divided by 4, which is 7. Okay, so this is the algebraic way that we could solve this. Now there is another way. There is called this box model. So let me write down the problem real quick. All right, let me make sure I wrote that correctly. Okay. So the box method can be used. Basically, it would be a way to collect your x's on one side and your numbers on another side. Okay. All right, so if you want to use the box method, it is pretty simple. We look at the x's. This one is on the left-hand side, so we're just going to drop it. Okay. But this one is over on the right-hand side, so if we move it, and we have to put it over here, we just have to flip it, which means it's a positive 4x, so we're going to make it a negative 4x. Okay. With our regular numbers, we have 21, which is over on the right-hand side, so we're just going to drop it. And then this negative 7, we need to move it over here, so we are going to flip it, and the opposite of a negative 7 is a positive 7. So then from here, we are just going to combine like terms. This is 8x and negative 4x, which would make 4x's. We have 7 and 21, which would make 28. And then finally, we have 4x's, so we're going to divide by that 4, and x equals 7. So the process is still the same. We're basically getting the variables on one side. You'll notice that you still get the same exact answer. This is just a method if you guys like it. Okay. All right, for our next problem, we have negative 11x plus 9, and that equals negative 2x plus 45. Okay, so again, first, when I look, I'm like, okay, this negative 2x is over on the right-hand side, and this negative 11x is on the other side. So what we need to do is we need to move it onto one side. Most of us feel pretty comfortable with just always having it on the left-hand side, which is totally fine. So basically, I'm always going to move this guy. So what is the opposite of a negative 2x? A positive 2x. And again, when I say positive, I'm going to show positive by adding, okay, because that's really what I'm doing. And then I'm going to write that on the other side, and I'm going to be very intentional and put it on top of this other x. Okay, we have negative 2x with a positive 2x, which makes it 0. And then we're just left with 45 on the right-hand side. Okay. Over here, we had a negative 11x, but we're adding 2 x's to that, and we would get negative 9x. And then I'm going to drop that plus 9. All right. From there, this is just a two-step equation. I'm going to move this 9 with a negative or subtraction, because a negative and a positive 9 would make a 0. And then 45 minus 9 would be 36. And then finally, we need to get rid of this negative 9. So we are going to divide by what we see, because a negative divided by a negative would be a positive. So we would get 1x. And then 36 divided by negative 9 would be negative 4. All right. All right, for this final problem, okay, I see 14x plus 14, and that equals negative 2 plus 8x plus 15. So before we even start, I notice that this negative 2 and this positive 15 are on the same side of the equal sign. So why not just combine them or put them together? So that's what we're going to do first. So we have 14x plus 14, because we haven't done anything with the left-hand side. And we still have 8x, but I'm going to put negative 2 and 15 together and get 13. Okay. Now it's in one place, so I'm a little bit happier. Now I am going to get the variables on one side. I have 8x right here. I have 14x right there. So I'm going to move this 8x to the left-hand side. So the opposite of an 8x is a negative 8x. Okay. 8 and negative 8 would make a 0. And then we're just left with 13 on the right-hand side. Then we had 14 x's, but we took away 8 of them. So that would be 6 x's plus 14 equaling 13. All right, now we just have to solve this two-step equation. We're going to move the 14 first. So the opposite of a positive 14 is a negative 14. 13 with a negative 14 would be a negative 1. Okay. And then finally, we need the 6 to disappear. So we're going to divide by what we see. That would make a 1. Okay. And when you type in your calculator, negative 1 divided by 6, you get, I'm going to write it over here. You get 0.1666666, or 1.6 with a bar over the 6. Now again, guys, decimals are fine, but we need to be more comfortable with fractions. So if you have this, I guess I should put a negative in front of it. Okay, if you have this, okay, this is not wrong, but we're going to write it as a fraction instead. So if you hit second on your calculator and then PRB, okay, you should get negative 1/6. Okay, and to me, this just looks prettier than that. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to have you guys do today is just a little maze of just practicing these kinds of problems. Again, you could use the algebraic way. That's usually the more common way. But if you do like the box method, let me know, try it out, and then we can practice it in class tomorrow. All right, see you guys then.